Okay, so the next stage. Now, this stage is actually about stage 5, and the reason why I'm not doing stage 2 to 4, which is technically the corners, the middle layer, and orientating the cross, is because the algorithms that you would use to actually complete those 3 steps are the exact same that you would use in the beginner's version. So basically just do the exact same algorithms that you do for getting in the corners, middle layer, and orientating the cross, and you'll eventually get to stage 5. Now, in the intermediate version, the one difference is that you'll have to come across a number of cases. Now, you would have mentioned, you would have like heard me mention the word cases if you've watched my beginner's version, and this means that when you come to a certain stage, there's multiple different ways that the cube can appear before you, so you can do the algorithm that is actually assigned to that case, and once you've done that algorithm, you have that stage solved. Now, as you may know with the beginners, that you will come across like 3 cases, either 1 corner, 2 corners, even no corners, and you'll do one algorithm over and over again, but if you're lucky you might have to do it once and to get the whole thing solved. Now, with the intermediate method, what happens in stage 5 is, instead of having to recognize 1 out of 3 cases and doing one algorithm, like the same algorithm until you eventually get the whole thing solved, is you'll have 7 cases and an algorithm for each case. So with both of them, the beginners and the beginner and the intermediate, there are pros and cons. The beginners, the pro is that you have one algorithm for each of the 3 cases, but the con is that you're going to be, doing this, you might end up having to do the algorithm over and over again, especially if you originally had no corners or 2 corners. With the intermediate, there is also pros and cons. The pros is that there is multiple cases, and once you do the algorithm assigned to the case you actually have, you'll get the entire thing solved. But the con is that there's 7 of them, which is a lot more, a good few more than you would have in the beginner's version. Now, there is actually, now the 7 cases that we have is that 2 of them have no corners, another 2 have 1 corner, and the final 3 have 2 corners. Alright, so let's move on to those cases. Okay, so this is the first case, where it is one of the no corner cases. Now, the way to differentiate the no corners cases is by spotting about to do with adjacent pairs. Now, this case is where we have 2 adjacent pairs, one here and one here. Okay, so this would technically be like adjacent pairs opposite each other. So no corners, adjacent pairs opposite each other. That's pretty much all it is. Okay. Okay. So once you are able to understand about this case, you're then able to know about the algorithm. Now, this case doesn't exactly have an algorithm, but 2 algorithms, and they're actually very, very simple to actually do. Now, the first one is actually very similar to a cross orientation case in the beginner's method, where it's like F, then OR, then U, OR prime, U prime, F prime, except the OR U, OR prime, U prime stage is actually tripled. So, I'm actually going to show you the algorithm there in a second. Now, before I actually show you the algorithm, you're going to need to know which way to hold it. Now, the way to hold it for this first algorithm is where you have either of the 2 adjacent pairs facing you. Okay, so once you have one of those facing you, you can do F, or U, or prime, U prime, or U, or prime, U prime, or U, or prime, U prime, F prime. So as you obviously saw there, that it's pretty much doing the exact same algorithm. It's well, not the exact same algorithm, but a very, very similar algorithm to the cross orientation case. It's just doing F and or U or prime U prime 3 times and then by an F prime, and it just solves that yellow face. Now I did say that that case did have two like two cases, sorry, two algorithms, and that was one of them. Now the other one is actually a good bit different, but it only involves using the right face and the up face. So first of all, I'll just make it there. Okay, so in fact the algorithm which I just did there, which I'm going to explain in a second, is actually the algorithm I will use. Okay, so instead of holding it with one adjacent pair facing you, which is what you use for the other algorithm, this case involves with the adjacent pairs on the sides. Okay, so after I do this algorithm, you can just choose which of the two you feel comfortable doing with, and and just work from there, and just try and choose which algorithm you prefer to use. Now the algorithm to solve this case, where we have put the adjacent pairs on the sides, is or U or prime, U or U prime, or prime U, or U2 or prime. Okay, so that's pretty much what that does. So as you can see, that no corners case with the adjacent pairs opposite each other in fact have two algorithms. So as I said, choose whichever one of the two feels more comfortable to you, and just use that algorithm for your solving of that case. Okay? Okay, so this is the second type of case that we can come across. Okay, so this is the second and final no corners case. Just like the previous one, this also has two adjacent pairs. On the other side, the adjacent pairs are opposite each other here. So we have an adjacent pair with opposite pairs opposite that. So adjacent pair, and on the opposite side an opposite pair. Okay, so adjacent pair, opposite pair. Okay, so once you come across this case, the way to actually hold the cube before you do the algorithm is with the adjacent pair on the left. Okay, so on the left. Okay, so once you are holding it correctly, you do the following algorithm: or U2 or 2 U prime, or 2 U prime, or 2 U2 or. Okay, so as you can see, that gets the entire yellow face orientated. Okay, so keep on practicing that algorithm, and make sure you actually are able to make sure you hold the cube the correct way for that case, and do the algorithm. So just keep on practicing. Okay. Okay, so now on to the one corner cases. In the beginner's version, we would have had the single corner on the bottom left of the up face. However, in the intermediate, it's either in the bottom right or the top right, depending on which case you have. In this case, we're going to have it in the bottom right, because of the following reason. Because each of the yellow stickers on the sides are in the top right of each of the faces that they are on. Okay, so yellow sticker on the bottom right, and on the sides here with all the yellow stickers on the side here in the top right of their faces. Okay, so when you have this algorithm, or this case, sorry, that make sure that you have bottom right and top right for each of the others, and do or prime U2 or U or prime U or. Okay, so that orientates the yellow face. Okay. Okay, so this is the second and the other one corner case. Now, as I did say, that the one corner cases have the one corner in either the bottom right or the top right location. This time it's in the top right. Okay, so we have yellow stickers in the top left location, the top left location of each of their faces. Okay, so when each of them are in the top left, you want to have the one corner in the bottom right, in the top right of the up face. Okay, so you kind of have one kind of facing you on the up face in top left. Okay, okay. Now, also, just a little extra thing, that in the previous case, the corner was here with a yellow sticker on this side, like in the top right here. Now in this case, they're kind of switched over. So another extra little hint is that the one corner cases will have a yellow sticker in either one of these locations, and then another yellow sticker on either one of these two. So if you have one here, you have to have a yellow sticker down here. If you have the corner here, you have to have a yellow sticker here. So in either one of these two patterns, okay? So that's actually another little extra hint that will kind of speed up your chances of actually recognizing the case quicker. Okay, so if the corner is in the top right of the up face, do the following algorithm: or U2, or prime, U prime, or U prime, or prime, and it orientates that face. Okay, so keep practicing that algorithm for this case, and you should eventually get somewhere quicker. Okay, so now onto the two corner cases. Now this is the only two corner case that has opposite corners. Okay, and the opposite corners are you're gonna hold the cube, so the opposite corners are on the bottom right and the top left of the up face. Now, however, it can't just be in any one of the two. Okay, so it can't be in this position, but it can be in this position, and there's a reason. Right? Because the algorithm, that when you do the algorithm for this case, is that it always works when there's no yellow sticker on any of these two positions. Because if we have it the other way, we're going to have one in this position, which is going to cause us like a whole lot of trouble when we do the algorithm. So that is why that when you're holding the cube for this case, there's kind of two conditions. Hold the cube so the opposite corners are in the bottom right and top left, and make sure you have no yellow stickers on the front. Okay, so you end up with the yellow stickers being on the back and the left. Okay, so back and left, right? So anyway, the algorithm for this case is going to be or prime, F prime, L prime, F, or F prime, L, F. Okay, so that gets the yellow face orientated. Okay, so just keep on practicing that, and you'll eventually come quicker with that one. Okay, so this is the second two corner case. This time the two corners are adjacent to each other. Now there is this case is very similar to the final case, and I'll show you why in another while. So this case has opposite corners on the other side of the cube. Okay, so we have the two corners, and on the other side opposite pairs. Okay, now you have to hold the cube with the two corners on the side on the left first. Okay, now the algorithm to do this case is small l prime, u prime, l, u, or u prime, l prime, u. Now after this case, you will also notice that you will end up with the bottom face in front of you, because of the fact you did a double layer turn at the start. And also, to make it a bit easier for you, if you want to return it back to normal, you can always add an X prime to your notation. So that's a cube rotation that's putting the white back on the bottom. So if you want, you can add X prime to the end of that algorithm, but it's not necessary because people will usually do it because that's simple as a cube rotation. So it's only if you want to add it on, okay? So, and now onto the final case. Okay, so this is the final two-corner case and the final case of stage 5. Okay, so after the end of this stage, you should now be able to just do 6 moves to orientate the cross, and then be able to recognize any one of the 7 cases and do any one of the 7 algorithms assigned to each of the cases to actually solve it. So that will actually technically be known as the 2-look OLL. Where you look at it first, then orientate the cross, look at it again, and then orientate the entire yellow face, okay? So this is the final case, and after you learn this one, then you should be able to do it no bother. First of all, I'll just start by telling you which way to hold it. So the way to hold it is you have the 2 corners here at the back, and the 2 adjacent corners here, okay? Which is, as I said, is actually also similar to the previous case where they're opposite each other. So this case is where they're adjacent to each other. So when you're holding it, make sure you hold the adjacent pair in front of you, so they're facing you, okay? Now the algorithm for it is OR2, D, OR prime, U2, OR, D prime, OR prime, U2, OR prime. Okay, so that orientates that yellow face, okay? So, as I said, at the end of this, you should now understand 2-look OLL, where you look at it once, orientate the cross, look at it again, orientate the yellow face. So that's technically what the intermediate method does for this one. Okay, so hopefully you have understood everything in this bit of the OLLs, which is orientation last layer, and then you'll be able to look at it twice, rather than look at it more than twice, which will usually feature up in the beginner's version usually, and you'll just be able to quick speed up that. Okay, so onto the final stage, okay? Okay, so stage 6. In this stage, which is technically the last sort of improved version towards the intermediate method, we're just going to be, permuting the corners. Now, in the beginner's version, we usually pick an adjacent pair, which is that on the top corners, like here, would be the same color, and then put at the back. But in this stage, in this version, we're not going to put them at the back. We're going to put them on the right. Okay, so let's see if we can find any. Nope. Okay, so we're going to need to make an adjacent pair. Now, it is actually just like the same system, that if you don't have an adjacent pair, do the algorithm that does do it, and you'll make one. Okay, now there is somewhat of a difference with the intermediate. You'll actually do a cube rotation, okay? So because we have no adjacent pairs, choose any face, so I'm going to choose this one, and we're going to start, okay? So X, R2, D2, R, U, OR prime, D2, OR, U prime, OR, and then you can, if you want, X prime. Okay, so now we have an adjacent pair here and none there. Okay, so we've made one. Okay, so as I said, once you have an adjacent pair, put that on the right. Okay, so now we'll do it again. So same thing. Okay, so that pretty much completes it for us. So that's the corners, and it's just the same algorithm then for permuting the edges, and hopefully that you will now get faster and have quicker times. So just a few stages, just a few changes to each of the stages, not all of them, and hopefully you'll get the good hang of it. So keep on practicing, and you'll just get faster. So if you have any questions, leave a comment below, and you can also hit the like button if you find my tutorials interesting, and just keep on watching.